Yo yo yo, what up? Gio right here. Alright, so yesterday I posted a video, two videos actually, because it was really long on the journey of living in my RV, what the journey's been like. The reason why I posted those videos, and I actually recorded those videos multiple times and they're all long. And I ended up just pretty much deleting all of them because they're just too long, and I don't know if anybody's really wanting to watch a really long ass video. It's pretty much like 2 hours, no kidding. So that's when I'm like, you know what? So what I thought about now is just recording the videos and make it into like into parts, kind of like a series, I guess, or just break it into parts, And if anybody's interested in watching, then they watch. If not, then skip on it, whatever. But that's what I'm gonna try to do now, just to try to keep it more shorter because it's just too long. Like I got a lot to describe, say. So yeah, that's what it is. So I'm gonna try. I'm gonna attempt again, even though I already attempted a lot of times. But this time I'm gonna do it into parts. Um, but yeah, so that's what it's gonna be. It's gonna be how the journey has been like in my RV. Um, the reason why I came up with that is because a few days ago I got a reminder from Google Photos, Google Images, that it's been 1 year. It was showing me a picture, an old picture that I took like exactly a year ago. Well, it's more like a year and 3 days right now. But yeah, 3 days ago it was showing like exactly 1 year ago when I took a picture of my RV in a particular spot where I'm parked at right now. And so it's officially been a year, and which I'm really grateful for. And that's when I'm like, you know what? That's when I came up with the idea. Like, now that I have a year, let me describe what the journey's been like, because it's definitely been a journey. It's been quite a ride for sure. So that's when I want to get into. Um, it's been about 1 year and a half that I've been living in an RV, but it's been 1 year and 3 days that I've been living in this particular spot where I'm parked at. Because it took a while for me to get to this spot. Um, so yeah, so I'm gonna start off the journey. So this is the first video. um, so in the beginning, when I got the RV, like I said, I do a bunch of trades on the side. Even right now, I'm trying to trade up a car that I just got, and I'm hoping to trade that by this Friday. Hopefully the trade goes through, but I'm gonna go into that maybe in another video, depending on how the situation goes. But yeah, I do trades on the side. I'm always doing trades, whether I'm working or not working. Trades, I'm always doing it. And so one thing that I had towards the end, I had a 2002 Acura MGX SUV Touring Edition, all-wheel drive 4x4, and I got it for $1,500, and it was just cosmetic issues that I had, which was a good thing. The engine and everything, the transmission was running really strong. So it was just the cosmetics that needed work. So I did that. I went to the junkyard and I got the parts that I needed for cheap, and I replaced it myself. I gave it a new paint job and everything. And then at the end, I made it look like a pretty decent looking, nice car. And and it had like 165K miles, clean title, pink slip in hand, tags up to date, and so that's when I was just thinking about, I was thinking about the RV. I was thinking about my future, trying to get a home. But that's when I'm like, Cali, it's not really, well, just anywhere in general, the real estate market now is just not really affordable, not really realistic. You got to pay hundred thousands, especially in Cali. It seems like the average home, like any home, it could be any home, two bedroom, whatever. It's like the starting price is like 500K on average, 500K and up. You know, and if you find something that's less than that, 350K or whatever, it usually needs a lot of work. So at the end of the day, it's like you're still paying the 500K, if not more, because you got to invest in all the repairs. And if it is, or maybe it doesn't require any repairs and it's still under 500K, and if that's the situation, it's going to be somewhere like isolated and deserted that nobody really knows about, that it's just like kind of like in the middle of nowhere, and yeah, so that's when I'm like, yeah, it's just unrealistic, you know. And at this point, I'm not really wanting to go to I was thinking about other states, but it's already too late for that because now I have a nephew and a niece in my life that I'm not trying to be away from them. So I feel like it's already too late for that. So yeah, so that's when I thought about the RV, and I thought about land, you know. So um, I thought, it looked more affordable after I did my research, and then so that's when I went with, So I traded the 2002 Acura MDX for the RV. It was a straight trade, and it was cool the moment that I got the RV, because that was the guy. He had it at a RV park, and I remember when he showed it to me, he tested out my car first. He liked how it drove. Everything checked out. Everything was smooth. The paperwork was good and everything. So then he told me, he's like, all right, so now let's check out my RV. So we went inside, and I felt really comfortable and everything. It was messy, but it was still like amazing to me, because I saw the potential. I was just like imagining so many things, visualizing a lot of things in my head, you know. Um, and then the cool thing is like, so what do you think? And I'm like, yeah, it looks really great. I'm definitely interested still. And that's why he's like, all right, just sit a bit. I'm gonna show you something really cool. And then so that's when he went to the key. And I remember he turned that key right here. So he says slide control where my backpack's at. It said slide control. And then there's a key right there, as you can see. So he turned that key. Another one. There's also another one in my room, back there in my room. So he turned both of those keys, and I remember all this right here, all this moved out. So all this became walking space, and then the dining area was all the way over there. So it was a lot more spacious. And then when he went to my room, it was the opposite. When he went to my room, the whole closet area, there's a gap right there. There's a space right here in the top too. That went out, and the whole closet became walking space as well. So it became really a lot more spacious in here. And I'm like, man, I'm like, this is basically a studio. So it was really cool, That was the only time that I got to see my RV basically be a Transformers and transform into a studio apartment, pretty much. And yeah, so I was already excited, that just, it made me go off the charts. My head just was like, wow. It was super, like, beyond amazed. And I was just super interested, and I couldn't believe it. I'm like, am I really about to do this trade, like, with no cash on top of my end, just a straight trade? Like, this is about to really happen? And yeah, sure enough, it did happen. And when he gave me the RV, he's all like, he's like, so you ever driven a vehicle this big? I'm like, no way, never. And he's all like, oh, okay, well, here's the keys. You let me test drive your car. It's time for you to test drive the RV. And then it was just it was just so sudden, and then I was just like not prepared for it. But I'm like, well, I gotta do it, because either way I have to take it home. I have to drive it home, and I'm 66 miles away from home. So regardless, I gotta do it. And I definitely can't afford a tow truck, it's just crazy. Like, could you even find one for something this size? I'm like, so yeah, so that's when I'm like, all right, let me go take it for a test drive. And it was intense. And yeah, that was that. The only thing was I noticed that the tire was almost flat. So that's when he's all like, oh yeah, one of the tires is flat, so you gotta replace it. Don't worry, there's a spare inside. So when you get home, just go ahead and get someone to replace it. And then I'm like, all right. He's like, babe, for now we could put air, And oh, that was the first thing he said. He's like, let's go put air on the tire. I know the tire is flat. So he tried to put he's like there's a like an air machine right here at the entrance of the RV park, for the RVs and stuff. So we went right there, and then the little the valve stem where you put the air, that thing came off. It got stuck into the little thing, like the little plug thing, and it broke off, and then the air started leaking like super fast, and it just got flat right away. So that's when I'm like, he's like, oh shit, that's all bad. And he's all like, don't worry, there's a spare inside, just get it replaced when you get home. I'm like, yeah, that's what I'm gonna do, but how am I gonna get it home now though? That's what I'm worrying about. I could get the tire replaced when I get home, but I mean, how am I gonna get it home though? And he's like, it's still drivable. It has a bunch of wheels, so I don't think one is really gonna make that much of a difference. It'll still be stable. So I'm like, fuck, man. I'm like, well, I don't really have a choice. I definitely can't afford a tow truck, so I might have to gamble it, and just take it easy on the road. So that's what I thought, and it was already intense. It wasn't super intense because, one, I never driven a vehicle this big. Two, the tire was out, messed up, and then three, when I tried to turn on the RV, the battery was having issues. He told me that too. He's like, also, you're gonna have to replace the battery. The battery, it's no good. It's not the alternator, it's the battery. You always got to jump start it when you want to start the RV. So yeah, just replace that. And yeah, and sure enough, that's what happened. So that's when I'm like, what is it? I was thinking, like, when it was having trouble, when I tried to turn it on, it was having trouble and it didn't turn on at first. And then he eventually got it to turn on. That's when I'm like, what if this thing decides to just shut off in the middle of driving it, on the way back home? Because it's a long way, 66 miles. That's almost 70 miles there. Like, what if it just suddenly decides to shut off? Then what am I gonna do then? So there's all these things going into my head. The tire, the battery, the size of the vehicle, me being inexperienced driving, something class B. So that's when I'm like, yeah, what am I gonna do? And I'm like, well, I already did the trade. I don't got the money for a tow. I'm just gonna have to do it. Just gotta get it over with and wish myself the best. And so that's what I did. I started driving it back home, and as soon as I got into the highway, I heard the tire blow up. Bah! But the RV was still stable. So for a second, I was like paranoid, but then I noticed that, the steering wheel was still stable. Everything was still stable, and I just went along with it. I just had a steady speed. Everybody was passing me by. I didn't care. I was just trying to get home safely, and I did. And so that's how it started. And when I didn't know where to park in my hometown, I didn't know, there's like no space. So that's when I'm like, where am I gonna park this thing? So for the meantime, while I tried to brainstorm, I went to my hometown city. Well, yeah, that's where I was living at. But I went into I went into the Walmart, because that's what I always knew, that Walmart was pretty much the place where I always seen commercial trucks, and that everybody knows that you could pretty much at least used to stay overnight without any issues. So that's what I'm like, all right. And I remember searching on Google too, like, where are some free places where you could stay overnight with your vehicle and not get harassed, not get in trouble. And then I remember seeing that they were mentioning Walmart, and that's when I thought about it. And I'm like, actually, yeah, I remember always seeing commercial vehicles just stay, at Walmart. So I just, that's why I tried it. That's why I tried it out, and I'm like, all right, Walmart it is. And I went, and immediately as I got there, I parked, and it was like a big relief, because I'm like, I made it. 60 miles, I made it though. And I kind of just sat there, and I just started reflecting everything, and then I tried to rest, and almost immediately, like minutes later, like about 5 minutes later perhaps, I get the knock. And then sure enough, it was security. And they say, hey, it's private property. You can't park right here. No commercial vehicles, no vehicles staying overnight's allowed over here. So I'm like, damn. I'm like, all right, I'll leave right now. I'm like, damn it, man. What are the odds? I guess that's not allowed anymore, or maybe just this Walmart. I don't know. But so that's when I went into my neighborhood and I didn't find any parking, so I had to go a little bit more behind. And the thing about that is that I had just barely moved in back into my hometown. I was living in other cities, moving around a lot, and towards the end, I went back into my hometown, and it was barely my 5th day in that room that I had just rented out, a room that I was renting from a guy's house. That landlord had a big house with many rooms inside, and he was renting all of them, and so there was a lot of roommates in there, and yeah, so I was just renting one of the rooms in that house, and it was barely my 5th day in there, and I had already gotten this deal, this trade that I did with the RV. So I had no idea where to park it in. Definitely didn't park in his house, and even if it did, I was in about an ass, just because I know it's a big deal. So that's when I try to find space in the street, and I found it a little bit behind, and still in the same neighborhood that I lived at, but like way behind. So that's where I parked it for the meantime, and that's when I'm like, now that I got this, what's my next move? What am I gonna do next? So I assumed that living in an RV, all you gotta do is just pay for the hookups, the electricity, water, and septic tank or sewer, whatever, and that's pretty much it. The utilities, because you have the space, you have the home. It's just the connections, the utilities that you need. So that's why I assume I'm like, what is that gonna cost? Anywhere from $300 to $600 at most. That's my guess. 600 being, you're at a nice space, at a nice neighborhood, nice city. 300 being, you're somewhere more regular, I guess, or yeah. It just depended where the city that you're at. That's what I thought, And so I started making a call to my hometown city. There's a nice area I knew about, an RV park. I called, and then sure enough, they did have one available. They said, yeah, we actually do have one available. They said the starting price, if you want the most basic, but you get all the hookups still, it's gonna start from $1,200, and it just goes up from there if you want more. But yeah, the basic price is $1,200 a month, and I thought that was ridiculous. So I'm like, no way. So I started calling some other places. I'm like, maybe it's just this place is a little bit too fancy, or I don't know. So let me just try calling some other places. And I called a bunch of places, and then I started switching up to places where, that's considered like ghetto places, thinking that maybe it's gonna be cheap right there. And no, that's when I realized that the average price was anywhere from $1,000 and up. And then that's when I'm like, yeah, I definitely did not see that. My assumption was completely wrong. And that's when I'm like, well, that defeats the purpose of having the RV. I got it to help me save money, so I could save up for land and everything. But it's pretty much the same price as paying rent at an apartment or a house. And if I'm gonna do that, might as well live in an apartment. It's like, so yeah, I just thought it defeated the purpose. And I did find places that were land spaces that was like $600, like the way I thought it would be. But it was like in deserted places, like pretty much like in the middle of nowhere. Joshua Tree, and I don't know, just deserted places, Victorville. Yeah, so that's when I'm like, you know what? Yeah, it's not gonna happen. So and that's when I'm like, you know what? Well, I already got it, so might as well do something with it. And that's when I'm like, is it possible that I could live in it and create my own resources without needing the hookups, the connections, and everything? And that's when I started doing my homework, my research, and I started looking into solar panels, and then I discovered about solar generators, and I started discovering appliances that were solar powered as well. And I just did a bunch of research and watching a lot of videos on YouTube and a lot of projects, do yourself projects and how to videos and everything. And next thing you know, I just pretty much became a sponge, and I was just absorbing all this information. And yeah, after I did my homework, I started doing things. I started investing in the RV, buying the solar panels, the solar generators, the appliances that are solar powered, and everything, and started installing it myself. And I just got to work. And but before I did all that, I'm skipping ahead. I just realized I'm skipping ahead. So before I did all that, once I realized that it was gonna be expensive, but I already got it, and I felt like in a way I was kind of trapped. I'm like, I'm not trying to sell it either. I just got it, and I'm just gonna wait it out and see what I could do with it. For the meantime, I was debating with myself. I'm like, do I continue paying rent in this room, or should I just, jump ahead and go into the RV and start this off-grid lifestyle, and then just figure it out in the process, how I'm gonna get by. And towards the end, I decided to just do that, go off-grid and just figure it out as I go by. And so I really just stayed in that room for that 1 month. But I told towards the end, right before the week ended, right before a week before rent was due, I talked to my landlord and I told him the situation that was happening. And then I even told him, I'm like, yeah, I'm not lying. And like, we could step outside and I'm gonna show you the RV from here. I could point it out. It's a little bit kind of far in the distance, but I can at least point it out to you so you can see that I'm not lying, and it's for real. And I did. I pointed out the RV, and like, you see it all the way over there? I'm like, yeah, that's my RV. But yeah, that's the situation. So yeah, but I don't want to leave you just like that, like kind of like a last minute notice, even though there's still a week before rent is due. Because I know you got bills to pay and everything. So what I did for you, I posted an ad myself, and I found somebody that, with the pay stubs, with the reference checks and everything, and with the money cash on hand, ready to move in here like immediately. And so that's what I did, and I found you this connection. He's Spanish speaking as well, so it all works out. And then you could meet him and then see how you feel. And then sure enough, that's what happened. So on the day that it was time for me to get out, I moved out, he moved in, and it worked out perfectly fine. And the landlord, he was not pissed off at all. He completely understood my situation. He appreciated and respected the fact that I found him someone, and he was still good. And so I left it in good terms. And then for the meantime, throughout the month, since I already had the RV and I knew that I was potentially going to live in it and go off grid, I was purposely walking to the stores. Instead of taking my bike, I was purposely just walking to the stores, just to have a long walk so I could just scan and see if I see any space in the road that was like available with a good potential for me to just park in there. That's public property, public street, and that just looked like a good spot to park at. So I was doing that, and I did find one spot, and I'm like, the moment I found it, I'm like, oh yeah, this is a spot. It's a little bit secluded. It's still within the city, it's still in the street, but it's just the spot is like, it's secluded and it's good. So that's when I'm like, all right, that's where I'm gonna move. And I kept on, every time I would go to the store, I kept going to the spot just to continue to scan to see the activity, to see if I see anything strange, or just to try to see the whole vibe. And every time I passed through it, it always checked out as good. I'm like, all right, it's still good. So 2 weeks went by and it was still good. And then after the 2 weeks, I remember I went to the store, and then I saw the spot, and I finally saw an RV right there. So I'm like, oh, somebody else discovered the spot too. And it looks like somebody's already there. So I'm like, yeah, I don't blame the person because it is a good spot. And I'm like, and I saw the RV and it looked in good shape. It wasn't dirty. There was no mess outside, left outside or anything, and it was just one RV. So that's when I'm like, all right, cool. He's like, the person, whoever it is, looks like they keep themselves clean. So it looks like I'm gonna have a neighbor then, you know. So that's cool, and it's better that way because then I'm gonna have someone we could have each other's back, you know. So and I kept monitoring that spot, you know, as time went by, and yeah, after the month was over, that's when I told the landlord, and everything happened the way it did, and I moved my RV behind that RV and the spot that I knew about. And as soon as I moved there, I remember moving there late at night. So as soon as I moved there, I was just sleepy, getting, you know, I was ready to knock out, which I did. So the following day in the morning, that's when I introduced myself to that guy, and that guy's name was Doug. Doug. It was an elderly man, Caucasian, yeah, Caucasian elderly man. He was already retired, and yeah, and that was him. So I introduced myself to him, and it was just him with his dog, and nobody else. It was just him and his dog, and he was cool. He was a cool person, and he told me a little bit about himself. I told him a little bit about myself, and then towards the end, I left it as, you know, now they were basically neighbors. You know, we could it'll be good. You know, we could have each other's back. We could keep an eye out on our each other's RV when you're not home. You know, I could keep an eye out when I'm not home. You can keep an eye out, and we see something suspicious. You know, we could pretty much let each other's know. And if you need something, you know, syrup for your pancakes or something, or salt or whatever, or in his case, a jump start for his battery, you know, feel free to let me know. We have each other's back. So so yeah, that was the situation, and it was cool. You know, it was a good vibe. And then and we were good for 1 week, for like an entire week. And then, like, I want to say like the following week after that, all of a sudden we saw a third RV show up. And the third RV, we're basically right next to each other. We're only like a few feet away from each other, so we're parked right by each other. The third RV shows up, and it's parked still in the spot where we're at, but it's parked like way past, like in the front. So there's like a good distance between us. The separation is like, I don't know how far, but it's pretty far, but still within the same space. And then that's when we're like, oh man, who's that? And both of us, we didn't recognize that RV. And then I'm like, I don't know either. I'm like, well, the RV looks clean for so far, at least. Let's just hope that it's a good person at least. So that's when I went to go try to. I'm like, I'm gonna go introduce myself. And I try to do the same thing. Like I introduced myself to Doug, and when I went over there, I noticed the door was open and there was music playing. It was like rap, and then I could overhear like somebody singing, and it sounded like a female. And then that's when I'm like, I just said hello, how's it going? You know, I'm the person, the other RV guy in the back. You know, nice to meet you. And then, but I didn't get a response back, and there was just like a pause. So at the end, I'm like, all right, this is an awkward pause, and I'm like, probably making the person feel uncomfortable. So I'm just gonna step back. It's like, this is uncomfortable. So, yeah, let me just gonna step back. So yeah, when I didn't hear no response, I'm like, I'm just gonna leave it alone. At least I tried, you know. And yeah, I was just trying to, you know, just be friendly. But yeah, so that's when I backed off, and I just let that go. And I'm like, all right, well, as long as there's no mess, you know, we should all be good, you know. And it was good for a whole another week, you know. After she came, it was good for another week. And so the week passed, and all of a sudden we started overhearing commotion happening, a bunch of screaming, a bunch of cursing, a bunch of arguing, and it was coming from that third RV. And we seen a new person in the RV come out in and out from the RV, and it was a man. He's like he's all tatted up. He looked gang affiliated. Just I don't know. Just you could just kind of see it in his mannerism and everything, like his attire and everything. But anyways, so he came out and so yeah, so things were getting bad just because the whole argument that was happening and everything, and we just ignored it. And my friend hit me up, um, my best friend, and he was telling me that he just got a new motorcycle. He's also into motorcycles like me, and he was just in disbelief and everything. He's super excited, and he wanted to show me the bike, and I'm like, yeah, bring it over, man, show me. He's like, all right, I'm gonna come through, and he came through, and then he's like, all right, I'm only 5 minutes away, so I'm like, all right, cool. So I'm gonna step out then. You're gonna see me laying on the grass, sitting down on the grass next to the RV, and I did that just to make it easier for him to find me. So I decided to sit on the grass, and I was just watching YouTube videos, watching the feeds and everything, as I waited for my friend to arrive. And as I did that, the guy stepped out of his RV, the third RV, um, and the tatted up guy and everything. So he steps out and he's saying goodbye to his girl, that he was gonna come back, that he was just gonna go handle something. So he steps out and then he's walking like towards my direction, and then sure enough he starts speaking to me. He's like, hey homie. He's like, yo bro. He's like, I just came out of prison. You know, I just did a lot of years and this and that, and but he's like, I'm trying to do better now though, and starting off with making money, you know, but I can't get a job. Wherever I go, I can't get a job. So, you know, I was gonna ask you if you could let me borrow 40, and you know, I'll pay you back tomorrow. If not tomorrow, by the day after. I mean, like no later than that for sure. And it's like, and I never met this guy. Like I don't know nothing about him. He doesn't know nothing about me. And then you know, all I know is that he just came out of prison, and he looks all crazy just looking at him. Looks like a crazy dude. And yeah, he was all tall dude, muscular built, tatted up everywhere, scars, and he just looked crazy. You see him, he looked crazy, and you know, and definitely was getting bad vibes, you know. So I'm like, nah, I'm in the same situation as you. I'm not working at the moment, so I don't got anything on me. So and he's like, don't trip, homie. He's like, at least I tried though, right? And I'm like, yeah, whatever that means. You know, I said that in my mind though, but I'm like, yeah, at least you tried. And then so he starts walking away. So that was my first impression with him. You know, I was just getting bad vibes. I'm like, man, this guy doesn't even know me, and he's already asking for money. Come on now. Um, so, anyways, my friend came, and then I just forgot about the whole thing. And then so fast forward days later, my neighbor Doug, the one that parked in front of me, he for whatever reason, he left. You know, he would leave with his RV to go somewhere. I'm not sure where he went, but he would just leave shortly, and then he would come back, and then that was his thing. So so at the end when he left, one of these days he was having battery issues, which my RV was having battery issues too. So I came from school, and I remember he's like, oh, that's good that you came. You know, I've been having trouble for a while now trying to turn this my RV on. You know, I got a lead, but this thing doesn't want to turn on. And he's like, so I was gonna ask you if you could give me a jump start. And he's like, if you have jumper cables as well, that way you could give me a jump start. And then I'm like, no, I don't have any jumper cables. And then even if I did, I'm also having battery issues in my RV. So it's like even then I can't give you a jump start that way. But I can still help you out though. I have a jumper box, and it's charged up fully. So you know, you could try that, and then hopefully it turns it on. And then that's when he's all like, oh yeah, you know, I appreciate it. So took out the jumper box, gave it to him, and it started his RV right away. So he was good to go. I'm like, see, so there you go. Um, now you're good to go. So yeah, he's like, I'm right here. If you need anything, to help you out. There he goes. So he went on his way. The following day, it was the same thing. He was trying to go, still having issues. So he asked for the jumper box. I gave it to him, and same thing. He was able to turn it on, and he left. And then and it was just the same repeating issue. The day after, it was the same thing. And then afterwards, it came after the third time. That's when I spoke to him, and I told him, like, I was just honest. I was just straightforward, and I told him, hey, just to let you know, I'm gonna need the jumper box. I'm gonna need the rest of the juice that it has, because anything happens, especially with the situation with the third RV, all the arguing and screaming, anything happens and we gotta leave, I want to be able to jump start my own RV so I could take off. It'd be all bad if I don't have the juice and I can't jump start my RV and then I can't leave. I don't want the RV to get impounded or something. So yeah, so he knew, and he's like, oh yeah, no, I totally understand you. He's like, but we're good now anyways, because I already bought some batteries. Right now they're recharging it for me completely, and it's gonna be ready for pickup tomorrow, but I already paid for them, so I'm already good to go. I paid for 2 brand new batteries. And then I'm like, oh man, that's perfect timing. I'm like, that's good to hear. And sure enough, the next day, I remember waking up, going outside, and the first thing I see was 2 brand new batteries laying on the ground next to his RV. And I can't remember the reason why he had them set outside, but he had them on the ground. And I remember going up to him and I told him, like, hey, how's it going, Doug? He's like, that's good. I can see that you got your brand new batteries. And I'm like, but I gotta let you know, bro. He's like, this is my hometown city, so I know how it is right here, the vibes and everything. It's not a good city. Anybody sees that, they're gonna try to take it. And it's easy to take it. So, my suggestion is to try to install it in your RV as soon as you can, or at least bring them in. And he's all like, yeah, I know, bro. He's like, I'm gonna bring them in. He's like, but I don't think no one's gonna steal it, but yeah, I'm gonna bring it in soon though. And then I'm like, all right, cool, yeah, just letting you know, just trying to watch out. And then so that was it. And I remember I went to go do my thing, and then I came back way later on throughout the day at nighttime, and I still seen those batteries there. It was hours later, and I still seen them outside. So I'm like, oh man, that's all bad. So, and then I noticed that there was a car that was parked across from us. It was like I can't remember what type of car it was, but it was a car that was parked across from us, and a white vehicle. Might have been a Lexus. Can't remember the make. But the thing is, it was parked across from us, and it looked like the guy was just sleeping. He was just knocked out, just laying in his car. So that's when I'm like, oh, we got someone new that just moved in, I guess. But they don't have an RV, it's just in a car. And that was it. And then I just went in my house and my RV and then knocked out. The next day comes in the morning, and I wake up to a knock, like a hard knock. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? So it wakes me up, and I go, and it's Doug. And he's like, Gio. He's like, hey man. He's like, remember my batteries that I left outside? I was just wondering if you happen to know anything about them, because they're gone. And then I'm like, oh, the last time I seen those batteries was when I talked to you, when I told you, what I said, that was that. And after that, I didn't. Oh, I did see them. I did see them right before I was gonna knock out at nighttime. When I came back home, I saw them again, and then that was it. I didn't see them after that, because I didn't step outside my RV after that. And I'm barely waking up right now. And then he's like, oh man. He's like, yeah, somebody stole them from me. And he's like, man, I just got those batteries too. So he started going crazy, started getting pissed off, started cursing and everything. It's like, fuck, man, fuck. And then next thing you know, so the guy that was parked across from us that stayed overnight, he comes and he crosses the street, and then he's only like 7 feet away from us or whatever. And then he overhears what's going on. So he goes up to Doug and he tells him, I didn't get his name. I don't know anything about him. I just saw him that one day. A black gentleman. He seemed like a nice person, but yeah. So he went up to Doug and he's like, "Hey, excuse me, sir." He's like, "You're looking for your batteries, right?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "You know anything about it?" He's like, "Well, you know, I stayed here overnight, and then I'm gonna let you know something, but it's not coming from me. You know, I don't exist. I didn't say anything. I didn't see anything. Could you keep it that way?" So that's when Doug's like, "Yeah, yeah, you could trust me. I'm not gonna say nothing. You know, I'll really appreciate the help." So he's like, "All right, you know, I'm gonna let you know, but like I said, just do me the favor to keep me out of whatever it is that you're going through. You know." Um, so I noticed that somebody came out of that RV that's in front of you guys, that third RV, that's a little bit distant from you guys. So it was a man that came out all tatted up. He started walking towards your guys' direction, and he noticed the batteries on the ground. So I saw him kneeling down. He picked them up, and then he turned around quick and just went straight into back to his RV. I didn't see him like physically have the batteries in his hand because the way how he turned, um, I couldn't see the batteries in his hand. But I mean, it's obvious though because the batteries were there on the ground. He kneeled down, and then all of a sudden they disappear. He goes back to the RV. So that's what I saw, you know. But it didn't come from me. Just remember that. And then the guys are like, "Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm not gonna say anything." And then he's like, "Fuck, man." He starts getting all pissed off. And then the guy coincidentally steps out. The guy tied it up from the other RV. He steps out. The prison guy. I'm just gonna call him the prison guy. So the prison guy steps out, and then he starts walking towards our direction. He's saying bye to his girl again. He's like, "All right, I'll be back, girl." And he starts walking towards our direction. And I see, Doug. He's all heated up. So he starts talking to him like, he's like, "Oh, you think I don't fucking know what you did, huh?" And he's like, "You think nobody knows? You think I'm stupid?" And then that's when the guys are like, "Are you talking to me, old man?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm talking to you, motherfucker." He's like, "You don't think I know what the hell you did?" He's like, "You stole my fucking batteries, man. And I paid a lot for those. I barely paid for them yesterday, brand new." And then that's when the guy, he's like, "What the fuck?" He's like, "You accusing me?" And it starts getting all crazy. And then so they're just confronting each other and exchanging bad words and everything. And then so at the end he's all like he's like, "I didn't steal shit, but if I did, what the fuck are you gonna do? You know, what are you gonna do about it?" So that's when Doug's like, "Oh, I'll see, I'll show you what I'm gonna do about it. You're about to see right now. Let me go inside my RV. There's something I gotta show you. I'll be back right now. Stay here." And he's like, "Oh yeah, you're gonna show me something? You know what? I have something to show you too." And so as Doug is going into his RV, you know, like very obviously that he's gonna go get a weapon or something. He's going into his RV. Um, the prison guy, is following him behind him. Now, Doug, he doesn't have his eyes facing towards the guy no more because as soon as he made that threat, he turned around and he's facing his RV, trying to go into his door. So, but the guy behind him, he's right behind him, and he's like a little bit in front of us. He's probably like a couple feet in front of us. So as he's following Doug, and we're behind him, we could see that he's reaching in his back pocket, and when he takes his hand out, you could see him take a big ass blade out. And then me and both the other guy, the black gentleman that was sleeping in his car, we both witnessed that. So, and not only that, but so many things were happening at the same time. Like some people, the gardeners that would cut the grass, the city grass, that was like right next to us where we parked at. They had just arrived, and you could hear them that they were getting ready to start working. And all of a sudden you could see that they paused too because they were just like confused, like what the hell did we just come into? Like something seemed like you could tell that they were just like paused and just staring like as like what the hell is going on. So we're all seeing this, and we could all see that guy just took a blade out, and he's trying to be sneaky about it because he's trying to not, he doesn't put his hands like he's keeping his hands behind his back to not expose what he has, what he just pulled out. and at the same time he's following Doug. So as he's following Doug, and we all saw that, I'm like, oh man, this is all bad. So that's when the black gentleman, bravely but also foolishly, just to keep it honest, he decides to jump in between them, and he's all like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 guys! It doesn't have to be this way. Think about it. This is a bad idea. Think about the consequences that it's gonna come along with, just for something so stupid, so small. That it's not a big deal if you guys think about it. And don't do it, you guys." And he was just trying to convince him to not take it to that level. And sure enough, the prison guy, he's like, all right, I'll stop. He's like, "Babe, don't think it's the end. You better watch your back, homie." So he starts talking to still threatening the Doug, the older guy. And Doug too, he was still being aggressive. He's like, "Yeah, you too. You watch your back too. You don't know what I'm gonna do." So I'm like, man. So thankfully nothing happened to the guy that stopped it. But it really wasn't over though. So the guy leaves, and the guy immediately, the one that stopped the fight, he got mad because at one point I remember the prison guy was like, it's like, "What makes you think I stole something from you? Did you see me? Did you see me steal it? And like, when? At what time?" And then that's when the guy's like, "Well, I didn't see it. I was asleep, but the guy over here told me." He's like, "What guy?" So that's why when that whole situation was over, the guy that got in between them, he started talking to Doug. He's like, "What the hell was that about, man? You said you were not gonna rat me out. I was trying to help you out, and I told you it didn't come from me. And you said you were not gonna rat me out, and that's the first thing you did." It's like, why the hell did you do that for? So he was getting on Doug for that, and he's like, "Now you're getting me involved in something that had nothing to do with, And then so it was all bad. So the thing that I said, I'm like, "Hey man, right now what you need to be focusing on, take advantage that he just left. Take advantage of this time to get out. I'm gonna get out too. We should all get out, but especially you. You're the one that's most at risk." And then he's just threatening you and everything, and then everything just escalated right now. You're not at a good position right now. So you don't know what he's gonna come back with, or who he's gonna come back with. If anything, he's gonna go connect with with his friends or whatever, and then they could get. And it's almost gonna be nighttime too, and we're at a kind of like an isolated area, and so it's just so many bad things at so many levels. Like, you want to get out of here, and it's like right now is the perfect time to do it. Especially him without a vehicle, that he's just walking everywhere. Take advantage of it and take off. I'm gonna take off too. And then he's all like, "Yeah, you're right, but how could I take off though if I don't have no batteries no more? He stole them from me, and the old battery that I have, I don't even have that one no more. I got rid of it." And I'm like, "Shit, man." That's when I realized, I'm like, "Damn. Well, I don't know how you're gonna do it, but all I know is that some way, somehow, you gotta find a way to get out. It's because you're not in a good situation at all." And then that's when he's like, "All right, yeah, I'm gonna talk to my friends and see what I can do." And I'm like, "Yeah, please do it. If you can't find somewhere to go, come with me in the RV. Leave your RV behind, and we gotta do that. I mean, that's an option there too. But you gotta get yourself out of this situation right now." And then he's like, "All right." So sure enough, I left, and Doug had my number and everything. So we all pretty much just split from there, and I don't know what happened afterwards. So I left, and I decided to go to the city, to where I was once living at 6 years ago. That city, I lived there for 2 years straight. I was renting a room at it was like a mini studio that the landlord had created himself in his backyard, and he was creating a lot of mini studios in his backyard. But that's another story, and I'm gonna share that in the next video. But this is the introduction video of how the journey started with the RV. So this video number 1, and that's how I'm gonna end it. But oh yeah, but just before I ended too, so in the beginning, since I didn't know how the RV worked, you know, I was completely brand new to it. Never had an RV, never lived in an RV, nothing like that. I lived in two mobile home parks that I rented a room from in the past, but not an RV. Um, yeah, so since I didn't never lived, I didn't have an experience in an RV. I was living like a caveman at first. So meaning, um, like the I didn't have no electricity, you know, because I wasn't connected to any hookups or anything. I was just on the street. I had no electricity. I had no solar generators, no power source at all. No access to bathroom, at least what I thought, because I used to think that I'm like, well, if I'm not at an RV park connected to, you know, the sewer holes and septic and everything, and if I'm just on the street and I decide to use the bathroom, since I'm not connected to anything, when I flush, that thing's gonna go directly onto the road. That was my thought process. That's what I assumed. Sorry about that. That's what I assumed. So that's when I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely not trying to do that because I'm not trying to get it reported, you know. So, you know, I'm just gonna have to use the public restrooms at restaurants or wherever. And it's not like I could easily use it at the Planet Fitness because there is no close Planet Fitness walking distance from me. The closest Planet Fitness to me was 6 miles away from me, and it was in 24/7. They close around 9 p.m. I think every day 9 p.m. And on the weekends I think it was closed at least one day out of the weekend. So there was a time limit on this, so it was just hard, you know. Um, so in the beginning, it was hard for me. The limited bathroom access, no electricity, no water. I didn't know how to use the water system. I didn't know how to use the batteries and everything. I didn't know how the buttons worked and everything. So I was living like a straight caveman at first. It was very challenging at the very beginning. And but yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that, and I'll do the next video afterwards. Peace.